Hello, Thornton Darts here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Aaron Beeney and how we got from a sort of a little concept on a bit of paper all the way through to the design you see on the screen and then to the final product you can buy today. So we're going to take a look through all the steps, a couple of other sort of designs we had along the way, and yeah, explain all the parts. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning now. Aaron Beeney won his tour card at Q School, and him and other people were a bit shocked because no one at that time really knew of Aaron Beeney. Obviously, we do now. Great player. He's learning on the tour. Absolutely lovely guy. But at the time for me, when I designed for Ryan Searle, Matt Edgar, Steve Hine, I had footage from events I could look at. I could see what darts they had online. I could research a load of stuff. But with Aaron, I had to, talk to him and learn that stuff myself, really. So as you can see on the screen, I like to see how the player grips. Because obviously when I design, if they're used to a certain grip, I like to try and keep that relatively similar, unless they ask for something different. And then I can get creative with other areas of the dart. So I don't want to create something brand new that they have to then get used to. I want the player to feel comfortable with that dart and when they pick them up, to be as comfortable as possible, similar to what they're used to, but obviously something a bit newer to the market, a bit nicer and exciting, really. So they were my sort of first steps, just learning about Aaron. Okay, so as I was just saying about the questions asked Aaron, one of those was, what are you throwing? What are you enjoying? What are you looking for in these darts? So some of the darts that Aaron had been trying and playing with were these performance darts, high performance. So great guys over at Performance Darts. And Aaron loved this sort of micro grip on the dart. So that was something that we wanted to sort of take forward, that sort of grip. And also the scallop from, similar to these Winmore Whitlocks, Aaron had tried these and he liked the reference point of a scallop. But he felt on these darts, the distance between where the scallop is and the front of the dart, because Aaron has his finger on the nose, was a bit far. It was a bit of a stretch. So we then wanted to sort of have a bit of a wider scallop to work from, so that felt a bit more comfortable. So that was a very good start of a reference point. And then we sort of got, I got through a little bit of a sort of a specification on paper from Aaron and the Loxley guys as a real good starting point to kick off these darts. Okay, so as you can see here, we got a rough sketch through with a couple of key points, and this was sort of a good little starting point. Now, things like the scallop right at the back, things like that can be quite tricky. I'll tell you why. One of the main reasons is because most darts, they tend to taper off towards the stem. So you'll see usually a short or long transition from the main width of the dart down to the width of the stem, so it sort of sits flush. Now, when you do that, if you put a scallop in there, depending on how deep you want that scallop, it's going to vary on how possible it is. So the deeper you go, the closer you get to the hole and the thread that keeps the stem in the dart. And if you go too close, the dart will be weaker and can snap pretty easily. So obviously on that back end, it's quite difficult to put too much grip around that area. So, things like that we took into consideration. Had a chat about the group chat, and then we got a first sort of draft. Okay, so with that draft in mind and a couple of other little bits that we spoke about, we came up with this here. Again, not the best first draft, but based on what we discussed, it was a very good starting point to go, what do we think here, there, etc. Now, if we look at the old sketch, we actually saw that they spoke about a scallop right at the back, and as I discussed before, there's a few problems with that. But also, we thought that a scallop would actually be better sort of central slash towards the back end. So if you look at Aaron's grip like we saw earlier, the scallop would be more beneficial as a reference point between sort of his thumb and his finger. So moving that reference point forward as opposed to how far back it was on the original sketch was actually a little bit better for that draft. So that's why the scallop is sort of there. And this is me just sort of saying, okay, we've moved that scallop. What's it like? What do you think about it there? And those points I've just raised were discussed. And obviously we wanted some grip here at some point. So yeah, that was a good starting point. The other thing was that it wasn't really the prettiest of darts. I actually felt that the nose didn't quite suit this style at the moment. So what I did was I discussed about maybe a bit more along the Whitlock side, a bit more of a tapered straight nose, because you also get a better grouping advantage on a straight taper. They're a bit nicer to group and a bit easier to get tighter. So that was something we discussed and we put forward into the next draft. Okay, so after going away and coming up with a few more ideas, what I put forward was this draft here. So as you can see, the front is now slightly more tapered. There's still a little bit of a flat portion there. And also at the back, as if we go back to the other sketch, it had a flat area just before the scallop. And to make it a bit more slick and a bit more slim, we actually made the whole rear section tapered, which was quite a nice little addition to make it a little bit more sleek as a dart. And added some grip obviously in that scallop there as well, which I think looked really smart. Now the thing is with this at this point as well, is it was just a concept. We hadn't considered things like logo space. So obviously we want some space for a logo on there somewhere, as long as it wasn't interfering with Aaron. And it seemed at the time a little bit plain. Aaron's inspiration for the colour scheme was actually yin and yang. So if you see on Aaron's shirt, he's got the yin and yang symbol on the back, and that was the inspiration for the next sort of colour scheme. And we actually then put it into, I put flight stems and points in here just to show a bit of an example. We wanted to sort of zhuzh it up a bit, so that's where we went next. Okay, so talking about those points we just mentioned, so as you can see at the top, I made room for a bit of a logo space there. I actually put in these two rings to be able to separate it and also allow us some grooves for a bit of colour, because in that micro grip area you can't really add any paint or anything or much colour, so adding in those extra grooves gives us a bit of chance to maybe add some paint in there somewhere. And the same with those big front three grooves at the front. The area was sort of looking a bit plain, and it also allowed us, for anyone that did grip there, so when you're selling darts as well, as it didn't necessarily interfere with Aaron, we thought about the sort of front grippers and added in a little bit of extra grip there for those people. So, and again, it adds us a few grooves of colour potentially. And then we wanted to take it a bit further with the zhuzh, and we actually just then experimented with colour. As I said about the black and white yin and yang, we then just went with a few different colour combinations, and through feedback from Aaron and the supplier, we ended up with sort of this sort of theme really. And that was sort of the last draft to then go on to be made. So then it was up to me to work out the centre of balance, make sure the weight was right, any sort of slight tweaks we needed to do to get it to weight. And yeah, that was sort of the first draft really. Okay, so as I just said, it was then down to just tweaking, getting the engineering drawing produced so we could get them made at the factory. And Aaron started to test a sample, which was just a silver version of what you see on the screen. And the feedback was great. And that allowed us to then go ahead. Once Aaron had given us the all clear after a certain amount of time practicing, saying, yeah, these are the ones, these feel great. I'm happy to then, you know, take them further and then be my match darts. So that allowed us to then start producing the coated versions with the paint. Then we were able to send those to Aaron, and now they're the darts that you can buy today. So if you guys have tried these, let me know what you think. They're a lovely dart. They're available from loxleydarts.com if you are interested in a set. I'll put a link in the description. And I hope you enjoyed this little bit of an insight into how we designed Aaron Beeney's darts. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you soon. Ciao.